early portraitures. Portraitures. Why portraitures? First of all, because as soon as photography was invented, one of the main use of it, it was primarily to make portraitures. And one of the reasons, of course, is because since we're human beings and people is the subject that we're always interested in. So making portraitures people found that photography has this potential to make all kinds of portraitures for all kinds of reasons, which we're gonna discuss later. But I want to remind you one thing, that is making portraits has been with us for a long time, way longer than the history of photography. We can trace it even back to the very early beginning of our civilization, the civilization of humans, to ancient Egypt, when the kings, when they buried themselves, when they were buried, right? They made portraitures to identify themselves, either in the form of sculpture, in the form of painting, in the form of painting on the wall, or ancient Rome, that they attached the portrait of the dead person to the wrapping of their body as they are buried. Let alone in European the Golden Age people, the painting portraits been a fashion for elite, for all classes of people, to show their status, to show things that they're interested in, to show who they are, and or just for show that I can afford a portrait, I can hire this artists to do a portrait for me. So it's been rooted deep in our society, in our history for a long time already, before photography came along. And in fact, Mona Lisa by Da Vinci, most expensive, most famous painting nowadays that as we know it, is also a portrait of the wife of this merchant, Italian merchant, Giocondo, right? Portrait. We needed it. And that's why photography was sent to service people in this field, to make portrait. Well, before portrait, yes, people might have another alternative to do something that's close to taking a photograph, that's silhouette portraits, just a shade of it, and kind of miniature portrait of it, of the person. And this is some of the photos showing how people would do the silhouette to keep their identity, right? A miniature that they can carry with them, portable. But they would sit there with a candle in front of them so that they can cast the shadow and on the screen, and the artist would be in the other side of the screen to paint it, to trace that silhouette. Okay, now photography came along, and we need to know what we should pay attention to, right? How do we analyze all these portraits? Because just looking at it, it seems to be pretty boring. It's just a photograph of a person. So I want to prepare you with all kinds of questions for you to question that photo, to question yourself about the photos I'll be showing you in this lecture. How is the person posed? What's the facial expression? What kind of emotion, right? Facial expression is a window of some of our emotion. And what kind of emotion does the sitter want the client want us to want to show, right? Because the sitter is gonna sit there for a long time for the photographer to take a picture of that of the client, right? What are they looking at? Where are they looking? Are they looking at the camera? Are they looking at other vantage point? Are they making any gestures? What are they wearing? Because for portraits, before photography came along, portraits is very interesting. One of the very interesting things to analyze is what they're wearing, the jewelry, the dress that shows the status, or sometimes the pets right next to them. The background has all kinds of motifs, symbolic meaning attached to it. So it's just a portrait, a painting of, or in this case, a photograph of a person, but the information is rich. And what do you think their experience of sitting for the photograph was like? How long did it take? Right, the exposure time required. This is the key. Remember that the daguerreotype takes 8 hours. I mean, not the daguerreotype, but Taibat. No. It's not Taibat. It's not daguerre. It's not daguerre. It's not Taibat. But the earliest, 1826, the first photograph took Niepce's from a Frenchman, Niepce, 8 hours to take a picture, a very blurry picture of the scene outside of his window, right? What's the purpose of making that portrait? So these are the things for you to think about on the subject. And how about the person, the skilled person operating this bulky device, the photographer? Where's the photograph taken? In a room? Inside of a room? Would it be too dark? Or is it outdoor? Would it be too noisy and the light not stable? Where's the best place to take the photo of a person? Are there any other objects, furnitures, other elements visible? How's the subject lit? Are they in focus? How are they framed? Are there formal qualities that affect the image of the subject? Do you think the photographer was attempting to establish a certain tone? Do you think, or in other words, do you think the photographer is under the instruction, under the will to satisfy the will of the client, deliberately manipulating the tone, the photograph? Okay, so some of the questions we might be able to answer some of those questions. For example, this is a photograph of how a portrait in Richard Beard's studio, one of the earliest photography studio. He bought the patent from Daguerre's agent, and then opened up many establishments, and expanded his business of photography with many studios. So in England. So this is one of a photograph showing the head. There's some kind of support for the head because of the exposure time. The background, do you have some? I think we do have some kind of decorations, right? Devices. The curtain Rococo style backdrop, a sculpture bust behind the sitter, behind the portrait. This is less like a tripod, but something else. Again, this is a head brace. It's the most interesting thing because you need to sit there for a long time. And usually, again, location. A lot of the time, studios they operate on the roof of a building, so that you get as much light as possible instead of indoor. Just light coming in just through the window might not be enough. It might take the client even longer time sitting there to be able to get this photograph done. So on the roof of a building might be the most ideal at the time. Moving on, we have this is the just a painting, sartoric painting, showing how the client is getting tired. An assistant has to hold his head right there. The head brace again showing here so that you can lean on it. People dress up very well just for this moment. And what else do you notice? How about the frame? Right, this seems to be something that people cherish because it's nicely framed. And then, as technology, as the advancement of technology, the methods to develop photographs, the more photography studios start to become a trend, a wave, and one of them being Matthew Brady opened up in the United States. He is one of the first to open photography studios first in New York and other places later, and it became a huge success. And through his studio, he's able to befriended many celebrity politicians and actors, and the elite class. He's able to enter the elite class and influence the society just through taking high quality portraitures. Matthew Brady. And this is another daguerreotype. As I said last week, I don't know if you remember that, daguerreotype versus calotype, right? Daguerre versus Teba. Who won out? Who had a better success in business, in expanding the method, daguerreotype or calotype? It turned out to be, calotype, actually you have the negative and positive and you can mass produce. Daguerreotype, it's the same thing, right? It's the same metal, right? That you have cannot be reproduced. But turned out to be daguerreotype that made a much better success in business because of the sharp image that it's able to produce compared to the calotype, more blurry. The rest of if you in the modern world, in the contemporary wording, it would be calotype. It's a lower resolution, which might not be so ideal for clients because you really want to get as close the likeness as possible. right? To whoever you want to take a picture of, you want to do a portrait of, because this, first of all, this is not so affordable. It's an expensive thing at the time. Just like portrait, hundreds of years before photography came along, it's not cheap to make a portrait. So, well, and you can just see from the daguerreotype right here, people frame it, people use a case to cover it. This is some kind of identity. This is some kind of, wherever they move, they will bring with them, put it in their pocket, show, dress up for the photograph, picture of the family, picture of motherhood. And this is actually a comparison of a daguerreotype and a calotype. Right, and you can see the difference. And this is again another daguerreotype, a photograph of an image of a dead, used as a keepsake for the family. Right, this is the motherhood, this is a family photograph, and even a photo of the dead child. Feels a little creepy, but you know, nowadays we feel a little creepy, but at the time it was something that they can cherish, they can hold, they can represent or resemble that kind of feeling, that emotion, store in it. I kind of want you, so here I want to pause a little bit and ask, you know, you've seen all these portraitures with different subjects, with different kind of grouping of people, sometimes mother and child, sometimes the whole family, the child. Think about the function, the power of visual, of this tangible thing. Why do we want to make this kind of memory or this identity visual? How about compare it to text? Can we just write it down that I miss this child so much, that my family has me, my wife, and my son? Why visual? Why photograph? Think about this. And then from here, I want to go faster because you want to go to your textbook for more detail. I want to be brief on here on the technical things, which is the methods. Right now, technology always is getting better, and the same case with photography. In 1851, Frederick Scott Archer invented the Claudian wet plate. Claudian wet plate is a new technology that you can use to better calotype. Because remember, calotype, the good thing about calotype is you can reproduce, you can mass produce, because you have the negative and the positive. And with Claudian, this chemical, this kind of treatment on the plate, on the glass plate, I have a video for this week that you can get a sense of what Claudian and albumin is. With the Claudian wet plate, the process becomes faster and more convenient, and you get a better image, because calotype is blurry, but now you can make it less blurry. You can make it as close a quality as the daguerreotype, but at the same time you can reproduce it. It's a win-win, right? So it makes the Claudian wet plate as well as what we're going to mention later, the albumin print. This two new technology makes calotype more applicable, more affordable, and higher quality. So this is the definition of the Claudian negative process. Basically, I just want to summarize, and because you have all the very detail on your textbook, and here I'll just let you read it. But to summarize it, it's Claudian. You apply that on the negative. All right, so you have this glass, very nice glass, black and white. Claudian treated. You take a photo, you have that negative, and then let me see. Okay, I don't have that slide, so I can tell you the albumin is another advance in technology on the positive, that you can make the positive more affordable. The paper easier to show the pictures, more stable. So we have this Claudian process and albumin print. One is for negative, one is for positive. Now you have it both, and you can actually turn Tabot's invention into a business now, into a successful business. And yes, Nadar from France, he is one of that successful businessmen. His, started his Nadar studio and photographed many French intellectual artists, artistic figures, politicians as well during this Claudian era. Used this new technology, just like Matthew Brady in the United States is able to do that. And Nadar is so famous is also when it comes to Impressionism. Nadar studio is where Edward Manet opened his first art show in Nadar's studio, not in the Academy of Art, but in Nadar studio as some kind of avant-garde, as some kind of new kind of art. So Nadar studio is really famous, especially in when we talk about Impressionism in Western art. But it's also one of that successful businessman, the person in this matter when we talk about photography, and he's known for being able to dramatize, to photograph not just the face, not just the person, but through all kinds of setting up, all kinds of dress, facing different directions to capture the sitter's character, like you are getting to know. Looking at the photograph feels like you are getting to know that person, that sitter. Isn't that very magical? Nadar's aim in portraiture was to seek, as he wrote, that instant of understanding that puts you in touch with the model, helps you sum him up, guides you to his habits, his ideas and character, and enables you to produce a really convincing and sympathetic likeness and intimate portrait. Well, that's really high standard. Don't you agree? By using all kinds of light and shade, a dramatic contrast of hair and skin, really dark, shady hair with the light skin, with the dress, all these wrinkles. Again, they are intended, all the trees leaning on some kind of, a piece of wood or a barrel. These are all intended. And looking not towards the camera, but towards somewhere else, like showing her ambition. And this is this is and this is Sarah Bernhardt, which is a young actress at the time. And this photograph anecdotally really gave this actress a boost in her career with this photograph. And again, this is albumin print, making it easier to mass produce. Remember, now we can mass produce hundreds or even thousands of this photograph and on the, put it on newspaper, on the poster, right? As a way to advertise, to gain popularity for this actress. Again, the photographer seems like is manipulating, right, the visual. You read yourself to recognize the own significance. So here, in every slide, I want you to have that question at the back of your mind, of your head. What's the function? What's the meaning of photograph? Is it really a very sincere, honest mirror of the reality? Or is it something that twists the reality a little bit to make it more intentional, to make it more utilitarian? Well, there's all kinds of attempts to test the limit of photography, of course, and we have one person to mention here, Julia Margaret Cameron, a British photographer, started photography, picking up the camera in the later period in his life, when she was like 48. That's when she became a professional photographer, started to determine to become a photographer. And her way of going about photography is a little different of going about a portrait. It's more, I don't know. I'll just show you the pictures later first, and I shouldn't give you all kinds of my bias yet. Well, but I want to mention that the chiaroscuro, the light and shade contrast that she tries to use. That's something that's similar to Pre-Raphaelite like paintings to recall that kind of romantic past, the classical spirit being embedded into the photography. How do they look like? So this is Pre-Raphaelite painting, and this is Cameron's photograph, right? Dressing up in ancient dress and posing as some kind of goddess or even some kind of religious topic, and a little blurry. Don't you agree? For example, this crazy hairstyle, Cameron take a photo of Sir John Herschel. Herschel, I'll let you. It's also another important figure in the history of photography, and I want to give you that, leave that to you to find it out on the textbook. To try to capture Herschel's character again, and for example, her subjects of her she also often depicted females subjects as characters in literary or biblical narrative. For example, like this one, the sitter is acting as Mary the mother. Madonna, and Madonna and child, all those, in this case, like Madonna and child. Avoiding, you might feel that she's intentionally avoiding all this sharp contrast and concentrated on the evocative handling of light. They give you that bucolic nostalgia feeling. And not just posing, but also some kind of prog, right? This wings to make this little girl an angel, literally an angel from the past. So you see, won't you say that this is more of a manipulation than the previous ones that I showed you? So photography, this actually, at the very beginnings, there's already all kinds of manipulation of your gazes, manipulation of your viewing, the audience's ways of seeing. It's intended for you to see it see the world in a certain way. How close to reality, it's up to your own discretion. So I suggest at the very end, that we need to approach the photographic portrait as a complicated series of aesthetic, cultural, ideological, sociological interaction between, interaction within the photograph, and interaction between the sitter and the audience, the spectators, who opens that delicate case, and through that delicate frame, or there's this photograph, what the sitter wants to tell the spectator, how the sitter wants to converse with the spectator. And its photography is interpretation of the world. It's a manipulation of the world. Do you still think it's a mirror, it's a reflection, it's an honest reflection of the world? Right? Now, the photography starts to have more functions, right? Political, religious, and many, many more. So maybe now it's about time to stop, but also about time to think, is photography a form of art?